All right, let's just get straight to this. If you're a little bit late on the intro, and I know how this works, it doesn't matter if I. People always stall. Like, oh, is anyone here? It doesn't matter. The algorithm does what it does. So if anybody's tuning in, I know we got more green meanies going out. This is literally the last of the batch. Um, this one is done, and we're going to be doing these ones. These are MXL R144s. These are brand new microphones that you can buy, not in this color, but you buy them from Sweetwater. If you're located in the US, the shipping is free. So what you do is you get my contact, you get my P.O. box, you go to Sweetwater. What's up, Paul? Um, Paul's into the cat's got some microphones going out to him. I appreciate always when Paul tunes in. You know the rap by now. You could probably even word by word describe what I'm gonna say. But and also on your microphones, I've already put the stickers. This regarding Paul. I've already put the stickers outside the box, and I'm gonna give you a 2 extra set just in case something goes wrong. If on the color wise, if you put the stickers on them and then you want to put new ones on them. But anyway, so the way it works is these are initially blue. They're MXL 144s. I used to proudly say you could buy these for 99 bucks. But because of the current state of the world, they're up to 112, which is 12%, which sounds exactly what they're being taxed. So people in the United States can, or if you live somewhere else, but mostly the United States, you can buy these from Sweetwater and the shipping's free. By then, you've already contacted me. You've gotten my P.O. box. They ship this to me for free. And then I upgrade these for $250 a mic. You're going to watch me do this one right now. And when you get back, these mics initially are, 99 to 112 bucks. But when you get them back, they will sound like $800 to $1,200 ribbon microphones because of the quality of the ribbon inside. These microphones are a perfect storm. I can't complain about the head basket is perfect. The transformers sound good. They just have terrible ribbons in them. So we're definitely going to do just this one right here, which I've already unscrewed it, but I want to make sure that it's looks cool for you all. So that is it. When you get this mic, it will become green. I think I have a version here that's the blue, the original blue. Hold on one second. Well, here's one that's done without the paint. So that's what it initially looks like. If I remove that sticker, it would just say MXL. So that's what it looks like when it comes in. And that's what it looks like after I do my little Manny custom paint job, make them into green meanies. The color obviously has nothing to do with the sound, but they look fucking cool. All right, so let's get to it. I have an insane day today. I've had an insane last few days. Some of it I can't really go into because it's just kind of like, it's personal business. But I can tell you that in one sweep motion of my car massively overheated, and at the same time, my rear brakes went out completely. So that happened. And then, so my car's in the shop, and I have nothing against public transportation. I kind of like it. It's really cool to either take an Uber or just, get dropped off exactly where you're going. You have to park your car. But where I live at, I have a train station. And the bus system going to my studio is really convenient. It doesn't take that. It's not that bad of a deal. So today, thank you, Jay. Thanks for sharing that. So today, I haven't been on a bus. I mean, for a few years, I used to take the bus through Skid Row, which is, if you don't know what I know people know what Skid Row is, but I'm going to explain it to you in a way that's going to sound really fucked up, but I believe it's true. Skid Row is like a human drain for the last stages of people to go and die. I know that sounds fucking hardcore, but my grandfather was a derelict, and he would go down to Skid Row. He got knifed and almost killed a bunch of times. And this was in the 60s, early 70s. Every city has a Skid Row, and I believe it's just a fucking drain of human life. It's like the last, like you have a drug problem, okay, you're on the street, you end up in jail, you get out of jail, then suddenly you're homeless, and then you find yourself, where do you go? You get food downtown, and then where do you go from downtown? You're next to Skid Row, then you're in Skid Row, and then you're getting food services in Skid Row. You hit some hard luck, now you haven't showered for weeks or months, you're having medical conditions, the police aren't going to arrest you anymore. Wintertime comes, and eventually, through getting cold, sick, drugs, or being killed, you die. So my intake or my look, and I used to travel through it on a bus. I used to take the 18. I forgot what there was a nickname. It was like, oh God, man, it was like Skid Row. It was like this rhyme that would go with the bus that you used to have to take through Skid Row. So when I would go through it, I would see crazy shit. And actually, when you go through Skid Row, you can see the actual hotel that the Night Stalker used to stay at, where he used to come into the hotel fully bloodied up from killing people, and no one would say anything. It's a really famous, I think they closed it and they remodeled half of it, but that was in Skid Row. So I happened to hop on this bus that I didn't realize that when I got on it, it's like maybe 2 miles past where it goes through Skid Row. So I get on this is technically, man, my first, hey, what's up, Bugman? This is my first, I've been on the train and the bus before, but this is my car broke down, just to kind of recap what had happened. So I don't have a car. I got to get to my studio today. I got work to do. I got some ribbon mics to do, and I don't want to stop the process. So, taking the bus is not that big of a fucking deal for me. So I take the bus, and I'm catching the train as it already traveled through Skid Row. And what's up, Dan? And so if everybody's tuning in, I do these microphones. I call them green meanies. This one's already been done. I'm doing this other one. And I have maybe, it looks like I have 2 more left to do of the original batch of all these that I made. I have a few that just came in that I'm going to get to as well. Each one of these mics takes about 4 or 5 hours each time. Even after I get done here, I've got to test them, and sometimes I re-ribbon them. But anyways, back to the story. So I take the bus, and I catch it, like kind of going through downtown, but at the end of downtown, it goes into East Los Angeles. And I'm sitting there, and I can see a guy to my right. He's handicapped or something, because he's got that chair with the rollers on it. And he's talking to a woman next to me here, in front of me. So I'm here, there's a lady in front. This guy is in the handicap section. I can see his cart. And I'm not paying attention to him, but then I start hearing what he's saying. And he's making the motion of doing this, and then sticking out his tongue. And I'm just almost disbelieving what I'm hearing. He's telling the lady, "You look really hot, and I want to lick your pussy." And I'm just saying, oh my fucking God, man. Really? I haven't been on the fucking on the bus in like months. And I can't believe it. Now, she's laughing. And I'm not going to tell you anyone's color of their skin, because it doesn't really matter. It's something bad is about to happen. So he's talking to her, and I see him making his motion of that and putting out his tongue, and he keeps on repeating that. And then he says, "Can I sit next to you?" And then he does this with his hand. And I'm like, oh my fucking God, man. What is this fucking guy's like in a fucking wheelchair, and he's talking to, and I would say he's probably 65, 70 years old. She's probably 60 to 65 years old. And I can't fucking believe it. He's like, "Let me sit next to you." And he goes, "I'll do this to you," which is he's going to finger bang her. And I'm like, oh my God, if he fucking sits next to this lady, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. So then I could see her laughing, but she's got a nervous laugh. And then she's like looking for her stop. She gets her stop. She stands up, And she goes, no, thank you. I've got to get off the bus. And she stands directly next to him. He grabs her ass and she moves away and goes, what are you doing? And he tells her, I'm fucking hard right now. And I cannot fucking believe I am witnessing a sexual assault on the fucking bus. And she hops off the bus. And it's just happening so fast. I'm almost like, I'm shocked. Like, one, I probably at that point should have gone up to the bus driver and said, this fucking guy is manhandling women. And at the same time, I'm just like, okay, she's off the bus. She has every right to go up to the bus driver. But I'm going to watch this guy. And I'm just going to, at this point now, this happens so quick, I'm not going to let another one go by. So as I'm sitting there, a young girl sits in front of me. And he looks at her, and she's attractive, but doesn't matter how old she is. He's just looking at her again. And he mumbles something to her, and I'm like, oh, fuck, he's going to do this to this young chick. And then I tap her on the shoulder, and I say, that guy is touching women. And she scoots over one seat, and he's still not paying attention to what I did. So then a lady comes in with two little boys, and she doesn't sit next to him, but she sits over here. He starts to talk to that fucking mom. Like, where are you from? He's trying to break into conversation so then he can go sit next to her with her two children then. And I told the lady, don't fucking talk to that guy. He just sexually assaulted and touched a woman that just got off the bus. And this guy tells me, he goes, fuck you, man, I'm American. And he stands up. He goes, fuck you, man, I'm American, I'm a veteran, or something like that. And as I'm telling this guy, you stay away from me, and I start yelling at him like, you're not going to fucking touch that mom and her kids, and you're not going to fucking touch that girl next to me. Another guy who was watching the whole thing go down stands up, and he's like, hey, man, he points to that guy. He goes, you know what, fuck you, man, I'm a Vietnam vet, and I'm fucking crazy. And he shows his teeth, and he makes like a wolfman prowl, like he's ready to hump on that guy. And suddenly I'm yelling at that guy. The Wolfman Vietnam veteran's yelling at that guy. And then the bus driver stops the bus. He gets up. And I said, listen, that guy sexually assaulted a woman when she left the bus. He's now talking to this mom with the two kids, and he's talking to this young girl. He physically grabbed a girl. He goes, no, I didn't. And then the two little ladies that were sitting here tell the bus driver, yes, he did. And he goes, oh, I'm getting off this bus. So then he gets off the bus. And by that time, I'm arriving at my stop, and then 15 minutes later, here I am talking to you all on Facebook, YouTube. I'm in my studio. Oh my fucking God, man. First time in years I've taken public transit, and that's fucking my story of the morning already. And I'm not saying whether this was in New York or anywhere in the world. It's fucking crazy out there. You know, it's God knows I travel with my passport now, you know, and I got to worry about ICE. But then the mental illness that's all around our country and our state is beyond, it's beyond, like, you know, controllable. It's just out of fucking hand. So anyways, I'm prepared, but I was not prepared to be, I was not prepared to get onto the bus today because my car's in the shop. I'm already feeling like what a fucking ordeal to get down to the studio to work, but I have to. And then to have to deal with a sexual assault on the bus. And, you know, this goes after a story of a woman getting stabbed on a train on the East Coast or Midwest. And it's a terrible story. So, you know, I'm ready. You know, I got this. I got you. You know what I'm saying? But this knife that I carry can't be concealed. I have to carry this in my waistband outside, and I carry it on my backpack because the blade, I think this is you know, yeah, I use this for work all the time, but I'm just saying, it's a nice blade. I love it. My deal is to hold it like this. That's how I like it. It's deep, no pun intended. So, anyways, when I travel around, even though I'm fucking 60 years old, man, it's a fucking nightmare sometimes. So, yeah, that was my day. And I know it sounds like I'm riled up. I was mainly concerned about that woman. I felt she was so nervous. And, I mean, I regrettably should have stepped in when it was getting out of hand, but I could not tell if she knew this guy. And she was laughing. And now that I think about it, it was probably a terrible nervous laugh. She probably herself could not believe that this was happening to her. And then when he grabbed her, and he didn't grab her by the pussy, he grabbed her butt. But he was trying. The guy wanted to eat her pussy out, and he wanted to fucking finger bang her on the fucking bus. And then he started talking to a young chick, and then talking to a mom with 2 kids. Like, really, dude? Like, and I'm not saying this in his defense. He was fucked up. He was either drunk or high or whatever had his lapse in judgment of thinking this is okay. I'm sure he went home to his own wife and kids, and when they asked him about his day, what's up, brother? Boise in the house. Asked him about his day, he probably won't have any recollection because he was fucked up. And it's not an excuse to treat anyone that badly. And I just, and when it happens to you, you can see why when something like that happens, you're almost in disbelief. So yeah, the first time he started this, I could not believe, and I couldn't tell. And does he know her? Are they together? Like, I don't know if he's just flirting with this fucking hyena or something. I have no fucking idea. I just literally sat on the bus behind her. He's handicapped and has this big cart with wheels, and she's sitting next to him on the opposite side. And why isn't she moving farther away from him? I can't answer. So I went up to the bus driver and I told him, hey man, I'm sorry. This is a ribbon microphone. Charles. It's crazy. Even right now when I went online, there's a guy that posted something and it was just like, oh my God, man. I just can't believe that people have time in their life to have so much hate. I know I'm beefing a little bit of fucking hate, but it was hate on a guy that was assaulting a woman. I know. It's so crazy. And so, yeah, I just timed some guy out. And it's so weird. They won't let me block it, but it's like, you've timed him out for whatever equals 24 hours. It's like 37,000 seconds. It's just like, why don't they give you something you just fucking block them, or just stop them from leaving stupid shit on Facebook. And also, I do make these so they're not for kids. So if you are a child or a kid, or you're under 18 and I'm dropping a bunch of F-bombs, I definitely have not condoned anyone of younger to be here. So, yeah. This is a ribbon microphone, and that is actually a ribbon inside. And so I'm going to replace this ribbon. Even though this looks pretty good, I think it could be better. I mean, even though this does look pretty well, the difference is the corrugation in the ribbon. This one, so if I blow on it, and that was just me blowing on it, it got ruined. So you can ruin these mics just by blowing on them. And that just tells you right there that looks wasted. And that was just me getting them. Even more. So yeah, if you blow into these mics, that's exactly how they get ruined, right? Yeah, I know. Just another day in LA, man. I've lived here my whole life. And I gotta say, what's portrayed in the news isn't always accurate how it's here. When they said LA was burning down, it wasn't. It was like one block in downtown LA, and I don't fucking go to that block anyways. It's all federal courthouse buildings, and the ICE detention center's right there. Why in the fuck would I be walking around there anyways? So, yeah, LA gets freaky weird sometimes from the news, but that's just what it is, man. I love living here. I've lived here my whole life. I think when you go to other cities, like I love DC, man. I love New York City. I love Chicago. I love Seattle, Frisco, San Diego. I don't know why, man. I can't really get myself caught up in San Diego, and I don't know why, because San Diego is a beautiful city, and it's right next to Mexico. And going to Tijuana and getting some steak and lobster and enchiladas doesn't sound bad to me, but it's not my city. I don't know what's going on with San Diego. I don't really get it. So you just saw me on this mic. I just literally opened up. I blew on it 1 or 2 times, and then it looks ruined. So that's how fast these mics can go out on you. And the corrugation that I put on this, the only thing will happen if you were to blow on this, it probably would sag. And that's about it. It's not going to look like this. It's definitely, if you blow on this after you get it and you were to check it or whatever, it's just going to look like that. But this ribbon is definitely shot because it's a thinner ribbon. It's probably 1.8. And it really hasn't been corrugated the way I'm going to corrugate it, which is more like a Kohl's or I'm not Kohl's, what I'm talking about. That's the worst ribbon, a Royer. So, dude, I don't want to get into politics here because that's no fun. There's plenty of forums. I mean, go to the Midas Touch if you want to be like, hearing a certain view, and then go to all the other sides of the spectrum for any other views. And then you got countless podcasters that you can watch now. I think people watch podcasters more than news. I mean, living in the United States, since everything's mostly cable now, and some of the channels, like the 3 big ones, aren't there really anymore. Let me see a question here. Is a thicker ribbon less sensitive? This is true. The thicker ribbons could be less sensitive, but the difference with the ones that I do is that everyone that does the thicker ones, when they corrugate them with paper, which means you surround it with, let's see, I got one over here. When I take the ribbons out, they have this paper in them. Most people of the world, and what they do is they'll fold it, do that, and then you run that through the corrugator, because this will get shredded. I mean, you saw me, if I get this on its own, and you just, it breaks. So if you put it through a corrugator without paper, it disintegrates. You're going to watch me do ribbon right now, which I'm pretty much the only guy you're going to see do that, and I don't use paper. It's because I've already set up my gears, so when it goes through, I'm getting compression, and I'm getting the cuts and the grooves, and that's some of the fidelity. So I'm going to get a higher grade aluminum. I'm going to cut it without paper, and each one of those edges will be sharper and become more sensitive. So when the sound hits it, there's way more movement around there, as opposed to kind of a rounded off rolling paper. And then also, when I go through the gears, it crushes the aluminum and makes it stronger. So yeah, it's a little bit of a process. It took me about 3 years to get it, but when you see me do it, it looks like I'm just like doing nothing. But any other ribbon that you would most likely put through a corrugator without being set up would probably be ripped off into pieces. And it's really sad because the foil is really expensive. So these are the sheets that I'm working with. And I get these out of a larger sheet, which is about $100. So I don't want to waste any ribbon. So even the process of me doing this is than me practicing and getting it right. So at least I feel like that way. But you just saw how easy you can blow these. I mean, literally, I blew into it and it ruined the ribbon. And that's exactly why ribbon mics are wonderful and terrible, because they're not, I mean, you can blow, tube capsules, and moisture is an enemy to any kind of condenser or capsule from spit, or being in a humid area can be really bad for the electronics. So I don't think you really escape maintenance and being careful with tube condensers. Maybe only Dynamics have a little bit of a free card, but you can overwhelm an SM7 or a 58 with spit. Sometimes when you have local venues, I'm sure that guy's always replacing the foam for the spit that goes inside the capsule or the diaphragm or the coils, and you have to clean them. So I don't think you're even escaping some kind of issue. And I do think that abuse of, the human voice, wind, power, air pressure can hurt a lot of mics. But one thing is that when I make these ribbons a little bit more resilient, that doesn't happen as much. And if they are damaged, then there's something with a high force that is really outside of being musical has damaged the microphone. And that's, that is always, when you have a studio, your mic's on the stand, you just got to make sure that you're always careful. And if your mics fall, a lot of times damage can happen to them. Even Dynamics and 50. I had one of my favorite mics is a Unidyne 56. They're like Sunset Sound era. A drummer hit it, and I didn't realize it until after the session, and the whole body of the SM56 Unidyne was cracked. And I sent it off to a guy that's really great with Dynamics, and he says that the cartridge or the capsule, the coils inside broke when it got hit. And they're so fine that there was no way for him to repair them. So yeah, even like a 57 getting struck with a drummer who has fucking titanium muscles and cracks that mic as hard as he can, like hitting a snare, even a Dynamic can't withstand a blow like that. You know what I'm saying, man? All right, I've got to get my mood a little bit more festive. I mean, the subject matter we're talking about is just like brutal life shit. And we're just talking about a ribbon mic. We just want to make a $99 to $112 ribbon mic sound like a $1,200 ribbon mic. Not be fucking, story told. I mean, here's the thing. If you don't live around here and you don't know my life, I can't explain it to you on what it's like every day living in Los Angeles. It doesn't make any sense. And I have friends that live all over the world, and I fucking love where they live. And even everyone has their own, issues. Friends of mine that live from Nashville up to, the Midwest, Texas. I have a lot of friends that live in Texas, Canada, all over Canada, Europe, Sweden, Germany. I mean, even my buddy that has one of the greatest mic companies in Germany. I mean, if I get him on the phone, or when he comes to Los Angeles and we have a talk about how things are in Germany, he's got his own list of things, what it's like even living in Germany and being Caucasian and being a handsome cat. Like, literally everything's in your favor. But yeah, he's got some shit talking to do, and some of it's justified. All right, so what I need to do now that I've removed that ribbon, and I have to figure out the gap. The ribbon's going to get laid in between this. That red wire is coming to this, which is positive. This gold wire is negative. And, hey, I will say this, man. I almost wanted to move to New Zealand. No one just tuned in from New Zealand. I've recorded these bands called Shifting Sands, and a few bands from New Zealand that I've done. And I swear to God, man, I love New Zealand people. I just fucking think they're amazing. And you're kind of living at the bottom of the earth. And people don't even realize, like, you're near the fucking Arctic Ocean, and it fucking gets cold down at the bottom of New Zealand. And you can hop from there over to Antarctica from New Zealand, which is crazy. And I have some friends that have lived in Tasmania, you know? So, man, I would live on fucking Tasmania, but I think everything in Tasmania can kill you. So, you know, I have enough problem not wanting to be around monkeys. Who fucking knows what's in Tasmania, man? You're talking about living on the last island on Earth. If we destroyed ourselves, Tasmania would be the last place, if you were going to be anywhere on Earth, that possibly you could survive. You know, unless someone's got their crosshairs on Tasmania. Maybe as the apocalypse happens, we all move to Tasmania. I think it'd be beautiful down there. I know it would be. One of my favorite movies is called Rover. And it's with the guy that was in that movie called Momentum. Oh, fuck, I forget his name. But do yourself a favor. It's an apocalyptic type movie based, I think it was done in Australia. But if you love Mad Max and you love that whole style of thing, it's not really like Mad Max. It's a slow burn, kind of like Fargo. But man, Rover was a sick movie. And I don't know if you can find it on, I don't know where you would find it. It came out maybe about 15 years ago, 10 years ago. Okay, 515 millimeters. Just check the bottom. 517, about 515, we'll say. Yeah, the Rover's fucking sick, man. And it's really dark in some ways. And then when you think about what the whole movie is about, that's pretty fucking crazy. Let me see real quick. You need to do the 260 calls again. Yeah, Paul, you know what? Maybe even this evening, I may do the 260 again. I've checked one of the 260s, and I'm just going to do another better one. So you may see the 260 come up. And that's the last of the Mohicans regarding Paul. You know what I'm trying, right? So anyway, so I'm going to say 217, 215. Sorry, Paul, I forgot to give you the chance for the gap. I already gave it away. It was like, you know, they're about 5 millimeters to 5.5 millimeters for the gap, Paul. Sorry about that, man. I was caught up in a story and I measured it out without doing the proper. Hey, does anybody want to guess the gap of the mic? All right. So what we have to do now is we're going to cut the ribbon. And then we're going to corrugate this and put it in the bad boy. But yeah, you know, I got nothing but love for New Zealand. And that the Rover was a super sick movie. And if you haven't seen Momentum, I think Momentum or Memento, I don't remember the name of it. It was about a guy something. I forget it. Guy Pearce. Yeah, Guy Pearce is the actor. I think it's called Memento or Momentum. That movie is pretty sick, and that was done about probably longer than that, 25 years ago or 20 years ago. That movie is a guy that has no memory, and the only thing he can do for his memory is to take a picture of whatever he's doing. So then he looks at his pictures to know where was I at that day, or what does this picture mean. So this event happens in his life. We have to look back at his pictures. And it's just a really creepy, weird movie that starts to evolve. But anyways, Guy Pearce, I believe is his name. He's in the Rover as well. Super great actor. All right, I'm trying to get this one and done. Because I have to then hop on the bus again and go out to meet my mechanic to see if I can get my car back today, which would be incredible. But I can't complain if it's not, because my mechanic is just a lifesaver for me. And like if I roll up and I just say, hey man, can you check the oil? And I want to spot him at 20 to just check it. He'll like put a cord in and say, get out of here. I'll talk to you when your car breaks down again. And it's true. You know, I'm like, if you're a musician, you always get a car that's used, and You don't want a car payment. I have a fucking Subaru that just kicks ass. It's one of the best cars I've ever had in my life. And it's just an incredible car. But when we bought it, it had low miles, which is low miles is about a little bit over 100,000. But right about that time, things start to go. So as I've been driving it, I just went out to Indio in California, which went up to about 118 degrees. My car overheated yesterday, first time ever. And I think it was going out to the desert really taxed the engine. And then at the same time, my brakes, even though when I bought my car, I think my front brakes were done. Obviously, it's cheaper to do the front than the back. And my car, eventually, the back brakes have fucking went out completely. And so, yeah, I'm left with yesterday, car overheating. I'm at the post office sending off a microphone. And then my car overheats. I drive back to the studio, and then it sounds like I'm dragging weights behind my car. I'm like, oh, fuck. And then I drive to my mechanic. He says, bring it back in today. He couldn't see it yesterday. And then so here I am on the bus tail talking about some guy trying to finger bang, some crippled handicapped guy trying to finger bang a lady half double his size, and he's convincing her that he's going to eat at her pussy on the bus, and he's going to finger bang her really hot, and that he has a hard on. And this is all on the bus, you know. So I was just like, oh my God, like, you know, something weird happened right here. No, it didn't. So yeah, I was just, today's been a fucking crazy day. You know what? I used to do my brakes all the time. And sadly, a lot of that had to do with my pops. My dad had a 67 Shelby in the garage. If you know what that is, that's one of the most sought after Mustangs. My dad was a total, you know, mechanic guy. So my dad had air compressors, all the tools, metric, standard. And what I would do, you know, to hang out with my dad, you know, something happened here. Yeah. Something, I don't like that. I think my blade, I grabbed the wrong blade, so it didn't do a good cut. And even though I probably could have saved that, you can't, yeah, I don't know what had happened there, except that just didn't look good. Huh. Let's do this again. So so I would go over my dad's, and that was since my dad was retired at the time, and we didn't have the greatest, I don't want to say we didn't have the greatest childhood, but like, honestly, my dad was a fucking dick. He didn't really do anything. My mom supports arts. My dad didn't support the arts. But what I come to find out, my dad and my mom were AFTA, or what are they called, for the Screen Actors Guild. And in his latter part of his life, my dad and my mom were extras. And yeah, I know, that's right. Let me see where my blade is in here. I think I somehow got a wore out one. So my dad and my mom were extras. Is that it? Nope. Nope. I think this is the one. Yeah, I think that's the one. And so my dad was in the last Seinfeld episodes. My dad was in, a lot of really, my mom, if you look up, what the fuck is that show called? Hold on. I forget the name, but when I figure it out, I'll let you know. But anyways, my mom and my dad were in all these super hip shows. So as my dad became older, my mom would hear my dad talking on the set. Oh, you ever heard of Fugazi? My son opens up for Fugazi. Yeah, my son's a producer. You ever heard of Los Lobos? Yeah, my son, like my dad would brag about me to other people, but to me, he never once told me anything that was fucking kind on what I do for a living. So, sad to say, my dad passed, but before he passed, it was always fun to go over there like, Dad, my brakes are out. Can I open up the toolbox? I'd go back in there and he just had everything. So yeah, it was really easy to pull it to my dad's house. And then I always had Nissan trucks, and we would always just roll up, jack it up, take the fucking brake pads off. I would pump the brakes, he would bleed the brakes, and I would drive off, and we had the fucking car done. Now the rear brakes are a little bit more difficult than the front brakes. So since the back brakes went out on my car, I already know that it's just best to take it to a mechanic. And also he told me that the struts are going bad in the rear of my car, which I understand because when I went out to the desert, we were driving around a corner, and even though my car's all-wheel drive, I felt like the back of the car got a little loose. And so I knew something was going on, and when I took it to them, he's like, yeah, man, your back struts are going. So that's another thing I'll have to worry about maybe next month, getting that done. So yeah, man. But yeah, I used to go over to my pops and work on the car, and it was really fucking cool because we'd figure out what was wrong, go to the parts store. I'd buy my dad some King Taco or whatever he would want, a 6-pack of Coke, some cigarettes, whatever it would be. And the story of my dad was really interesting. When I grew up with him, he didn't, not that he didn't support me in the arts, but he got a kick out of fucking taking my guitar away from me. If you want to hurt me, take my fucking guitar away and you're killing me. He knew that. He would do that to me all the fucking time. So when I turned 18, I flipped him off and walked outside the door, and I took off and I never came back. And my dad followed me down the street. What's going on? I said, fuck you, man. I'm out of here. I'm 18. You can't take my guitar anymore. Like, what a fucking goof I was. And, you know, I never went back to my parents' house. I'm an only child. So when your only child leaves at 18, as opposed to they always have that thing of when the only child lives there as long as he can because he's an only child. I couldn't stand it, man. My mom and my dad were just a fucking handful. So I moved out. And when I did, that kind of put a little bit of a strain between me and my dad, you know? And even though he loved me and I would come over and we'd work on the car every now and then, and my dad would brag about me to other people, about me being an artist, opening up for Fugazi, Blonde Redhead, Gang of Four, or whatever he would say my band had played with. He was really proud, and it was nice to know that's how he felt. So I got signed to a label called Alias Records, and when they signed me, I got a 2-record deal. My first record, I cut it with Steve Albini. And in the process of cutting that record, now Gang of Four was sick when we played with them. In the process of doing that record with Steve Albini, he told us the stories about building his own studio. So then my bass player, his name is Juan Alderete, or to me, Johnny. Johnny became the bass player for the Mars Volta. If you see Juan Alderete from the earlier records, that's Johnny, my bass player, or their bass player too. Anyways, Johnny told me, he goes, why didn't you talk to your label and on your second record, see if instead of we paid Steve Albini, I think it was $12,000 to do our record, which was fucking nothing for what that guy cost. And he became my friend, and we got on well. And without telling Steve, I told the record label, I go, listen, my first record deal is for $12,000. My second record deal accelerates the finances where I get paid $24,000, and my third record will be $32,000. I go, if you let me renegotiate my record And instead of paying me $24,000 for this next record I'm about to record, I want to renegotiate with you. I have a lawyer and everything, and I go, let's renegotiate for $12,000 again, a repeat, except this time I'll use the $12,000 to buy my own gear, and I'll have Steve Albini show me how to record. I know that sounds like a great plan, but I did not tell Steve that plan. I just told the label that. And pretty soon I was like, oh, fuck, you know, and they agreed to it, and they sent me the money. And now I'm like, oh, fuck, man, I don't know how to record band. What the fuck am I going to do? So I called up Steve, and I was like, hey, Steve. He's like, hey, he used to call me Rocker. He goes, hey, Steve. Hey, Rocker, what's up? I said, I kind of did a deal with my label and renegotiated my record. And instead of them paying me $24,000, they're going to give me money to buy recording gear. I wanted to ask you if I could possibly get a list from you for recording gear to put in a studio. I hadn't even leased the building yet. And then I want to make records kind of like by you and build my own studio. He kind of laughed a little bit, but the laugh wasn't like a belittling laugh. He just couldn't believe that I just took out $24,000 off my record contract to become a record producer and record bands. So thankfully, Steve agreed. And I flew out to, I with some of the money, I had flown out to Chicago again. And before, when we did our record out there, Studio A wasn't open. There's a Studio B and Studio A. Studio B is like a silo. It's super deep, like 40 feet high ceilings. And then Studio A was kind of like A&M Studios, like a very posh, very beautiful studio. So when we initially went out there, Studio A wasn't complete. So when I flew back close to a year later, or maybe it wasn't even a year, maybe it was like 7-8 months later, I flew back after our record was done. Studio A was finished. So usually if you're in a band, they have these small rooms that you can stay at. And I just ended up sleeping on the couch of Studio A. And every morning I'd go up and get coffee. Steve at the time had lived on the premises too. So I'd wake up, have coffee with Steve, and I would start the day recording with him. And I was just a fly on the wall. I just didn't say anything. I took pictures. Sadly, when my dad died, my mom had given up our storage unit, which I had all the pictures of me, my session with Steve Albini. So I lost that. But anyway, so long story long, Steve showed me how to record. And his list for me to start a studio was to buy a 2-inch 16-track tape machine and to get an AMEC board or any kind of console that had modular channels where you can take out channel 1 and repair it, put the channel back. And he recommended AMEC Angelas, AMEC TAC Scorpions, AMEC Matchless. So my first consoles were 3 TAC Scorpions, which were AMEC. And I used to record onto a 2-inch 16. And then, of course, you always run the tape limitations. And I had a 72 machine that was just a fucking nightmare, but sounded incredible. So I got a 1986 Sony. I very rarely had problems with that. If you're buying a tape machine, buy anything over 1986 for Sony MCIs. And then also, those are the only machines that Myra Machines works on. So, yeah, man. So that's kind of, I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm cutting ribbon here. Jesus. So anyways, that was the story of my dad. So then when I got my studio and I rented or leased a building, now I've got to fucking build a studio. And I had told my dad, and I'd already figured out all these DIY things that I was going to do for the studio. And my dad was forced into retirement. And my dad just kind of said, you know, I got some tools. Do you want to build your studio? And I couldn't believe he asked me. And I had no help. I said, yeah, I would love for you to come out. So my dad would come out. Of course, he'd go to King Taco and get some breakfast. I'd meet up with him. And it was like the Two Stooges for like almost a year. Me and my dad built my first studio. And that's when I was, maybe late 30s. Middle 30s. And at that point, there had been at least a 10-15 year gap in me and my dad having any kind of bonding. So my mom was just in disbelief that every morning my dad would wake up, he would text me about 6 in the morning and ask me, "You want to work on the studio?" And I would say, "Of course." And even if I had gotten home that night at 2 in the morning or whatever I was doing, I never was like not appreciative to his help. And I showed up, and that's what we did. I'm gonna stretch the ribbon right now, so you see me tripping. Now you gotta stretch it out. You can feel it get longer. Not like the guy on the bus, but yeah, that worked. So that I just relax that. Now you have to do that because the ribbons need to, when they start to flex within the microphone, you got to have them so they try to retain the original shape. If you don't stretch it out, and I felt it move maybe a quarter of an inch, if you don't stretch it out, the ribbon will move within the mic and it won't go back to a nice position. So you can definitely fuck these mics up by blowing in them. But if you don't do that, they should last a long time. All right, we need a Q-tip. That's my story of my dad. So that was beautiful. And then ironically, when my dad became very ill, my dad had his heart, congestive heart failure had gone down to like 30%. My dad smoked. And my dad, when he was in his 40s, had his heart reconstructed. And the doctor says, if you don't smoke, you're going to live a long time. My dad started smoking about a year after the surgery and never stopped. And his congestive heart failure just turned into more problems with himself physically. And when my dad was dying, my mom was going to lose her job. And when I had my studio in LaSalle Park, which I love that studio, my mom just came to me and said, hey, I may lose my job if I keep on missing days to take care of your father. Would you close your studio down to take care of your dad? And of course I said yes. So I closed my studio, and about a month later my dad died. So I didn't have a studio. My dad's dead. Me and my mom have no money. I have no income. And I ate tuna sandwiches for about a year. And I was the door guy at a local hipster club called the Cha Cha. And all the bands I worked with would come in and go, fuck, Manny, what are you doing? What's going on? Nothing. Can I see your ID? And, yeah, that added to, me. After my dad died, I realized, I'm a good drunk, which people can't tell I'm wasted. And I've only drank in my whole life Mexican beer and tequila. And those two combinations are fucking righteous with me, and there's no problem, except about 6 months after my dad died, I started vomiting blood. And to tell you about alcoholism, I started going, oh, well, fuck, I'm vomiting blood. I better have a chaser with water the next time I do my shots. Then it was like, oh, I'll drink 2 Tecates before. That'll coat my stomach. Oh, I'll drink 2 7-Ups. And then pretty soon, I'm talking myself into all these reasons of why I'm spitting up blood and how can I preserve the fact of still drinking tequila to ease the pain of my basically either ulcer or whatever the alcohol is eating the lining of my stomach. And I would drink like a bottle or 2 bottles of Casadores a week, but I was a functioning drunk, and I just realized that I'm fucking up my life. This was about 2007 and 8. And then I'd gone to Honolulu. And I had a session the next morning, and because of the time difference, which I should have stopped drinking about 10 o'clock Honolulu time, that would have been like 1 a.m. or 2 p.m., or 2 a.m. California time. I drank into their equivalent to 2 a.m., which would have been about 5 a.m. my time, and I just technically got fucking wrecked. And that was the last time I drank. And that had to do with, my dad and my pops and, but, right now at my studio, there's a guy named Rob Schnapps who's an amazing producer. He has my old room, and he's a friend. So every now and then when I get a chance, I'll go stop by Rob and I'll say hello. And I just look at the windows and all the things I did with my dad, So I think that looks pretty darn good. So I just laid that ribbon in there. It's not tensioned yet, but it is at least centered when I laid it in. trying to get this one and done because if you catch us later, you'll know my tale of the tape of my adventures taking public transit down here, and I still have to do that getting out of here. I've got to catch. Now there's one that goes down Atlantic to the train station, which is going to be the one I think I'm going to do. I took another route, but that took me through one of the buses that comes out of Skid Row. And I explained on the motley crew of people that come out of Skid Row, even though some of them are hardworking families, and like I mentioned about kids and their moms. Oh, it's not going in. That is a crazy screw. Shit. Oh, I just fucked up. I'm talking and I did not put the ground on that other screw, and I've got to tighten this one. What's up, Mark? All right. That's what I forgot to do. My schnizzle and my nizzle needed to go in there. That's the ground. My studio's starting to cook. Jeez. Jeez Louise. I have a bottle of alcohol, but rubbing alcohol next to me, and I forgot to grab my Pellegrino, but I don't think I have time to fuck around anymore. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna do a little loosening of both. I just want to make sure that one isn't crushing the other, and I don't get a little bit of a bowing in the bracket. All right, so now I'm going to tension it. I'm going to see how this is. I know, don't cut the red wire. True, true. It's pretty good. I'll get a little bit tighter if I can. That's pretty good. Make sure it's center. Right. I like it. Let's get there in here. There in here. I don't know what I'm talking about. I think I'm tripping balls right now. Just thinking about my route back home, which is fucking, makes you. Now, when I love New York City, man. My friend Oliver has a company called Death by Audio. And when I flew into New York AES and I took the train everywhere, I fucking love that, man. I love the subway system. But New York is set up where you don't need a fucking car. California was not made for that, man. I think the automotive industry really had a lot to do with why public transportation isn't as good, because they want everybody to buy a car. And that's actually why you can't take a train from Los Angeles to San Francisco. You have to take a bus to Bakersfield, about 2 hours away, and then there's a train that goes up to San Luis Obispo, and then there's a bus that, it's just fucking retarded. And it's all because the airline industry passes bills and laws that cut finances for public or interstate transportation. So that's why every country has speed trains everywhere, and we don't have them here, because the airline industry doesn't want you to go from Los Angeles to Vegas in a 2-hour speed train. They want you to hop on a plane, spend $100-something, and that's how you go to Las Vegas. And so, yeah, California is not made for public transportation, but it's getting better. I mean, you can do big strides and take the train out east, not that far, but you can't take a train to Las Vegas, which is ridiculous. It's the next big city, the next big money-making thing. But yeah, it's really interesting and how that is a factor. Now, you can even see down in Hawaii. When I first went out to Hawaii, they had there's a whole community of these little boats that you literally would drive your car onto, and they would drive your car from Honolulu to the big island of Hawaii. And then the airline industry made it illegal to transport anybody between the islands, and you had to take planes. And that was a big deal because people used to go to work on the islands, and they literally would drive the car onto a boat, drop them off on the big island. They would work, they would get off of work, drive back onto a boat, and they get dropped off in Honolulu. And then they cancel that. So, I mean, God, dude, it runs fucking thick. And this is just the United States. I'm sure all over the world there's things that people just fucking clamp down on you, and you're just fucked, and you have to get around it. And it's just like, somewhere in your point, you can't die young, can't have a heart attack about it, and you got to be happy. Anger and hate is poison to the body. And as I've gotten older, I've had to cut some ties with some people that were pretty much like poison in my body. And I feel better. But that's only something when you get older. When you're young, your recovery time is way better. And plus, you're going to move through a lot of friends anyways. But the ones that are great, you want to keep your best friends. I have a lot of my friends that I've been a lot through. My mic company, they're all my buds. Keith, the main guy who's helped me with most of the building, he's the newest to the crew. But Earl and Mondo and Dimitri, I've loved those guys. And so like they always say about lions in a pack, you just surround yourself with people that you care about. And even the crew here, if you want, I didn't even mention about it. If you want to help me out, you can buy me a cup of coffee. In the description, there's a little thanks icon. You can buy me a cup of coffee. And I know people always say, if you want to, please subscribe. But if you really want to help me out, you could become a member. And we have a small community of people right now that are members. And I know them all. And they're all awesome people. And I'm hopefully going to show some content soon that's going to be just for my homies and my chicas. And it's just a community. And it's really cool when I go on here and I see people saying hi to other people that are like, one guy, 2 of you are in England. We've got Joey. We've got Paul. We got New Zealand now. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool. I never in my life thought that I would go on live in the middle of the day in Los Angeles, and I would have a crew of people that are tuned in from around the world. And even though I will say that this is not... Oh, yeah, sorry, Bugman. Dude, I don't know why. I always think if you're so fucking punk that you're like from San Francisco or something, man, because you're so fucking punk. I guess England's punk. Of course it is. Sorry, Bugman. But, this form of doing microphones, what I'm doing, is not meant for high ratings. No one's showing their tits. I'm not a chick. And I'm doing this basically to help producers and people that don't have a lot of money achieve a higher quality of recording with a simple life hack of buying a cheap ribbon mic, sending it to me. I'll upgrade it, and then hopefully make it sound like a $1,200 mic, and then you start making your records with it. That to me is fucking cool. So that's what I get out of it. Yeah, I can talk some shit. Yeah, buy me a coffee. I'm a coffee whore. I'm a Pellegrino whore. I'm a membership whore. But at the end of the day, I honestly make a few $100 a month, maybe 100 minimal. And at the time that YouTube money comes into me, I need to fucking buy coffee, waters, things to live on, gas for my car. So it absolutely goes from you helping me out right into my fucking car. Even my breaks getting done. In some ways, that's some of the people of last month that helped me out. So it's a community of supporting artists. And I'm not like a gatekeeper. You know, I told you about my friend Ulf that has a website called Hoborec. He's a true DIYer. You know, Bugman has great music. If you can check Bugman, he left his comment here. His band is fucking sick. He's a great producer, great engineer. So yeah, this isn't like me saying like I'm not for all. I'm definitely for I don't want anyone to suffer, and because I come out of a different era where art being an artist was possible, where now that I'm becoming a senior citizen and I'm fucking 60 already, or almost 60, my life has now come down to the wind down of what the fuck am I going to do when I spent my whole life being an artist, and there is no retirement for artists. So yeah, you know, I mean, it ended up being maybe I'll be making microphones as I get older. Maybe that's what destiny has had for me. I know it sounds like I'm calling it in, but man, the best times of my life are now. I love fucking living right now. I love everything about being alive right now. I don't dream of being back in my 20s in high school. Fuck that shit. I don't dream about when I auditioned for Ozzy or the time that I recorded with Steve. Even those great memories, I don't want to be back in time. I just want to be current, and I want to be focused in on the future, and I want to be around people that I love. I mean, fucking, what's not better than that? Whether you're 20 or 19 going on a road trip with your buds, you know, it's in the moment. How do you live your life? Live it right now. Why are you guys watching me? Get out there and do something. Get out there and fucking kick ass, man. Or mate. So anyways, I guess today's a heavy day. Today we had a lot of heavy conversation. Father, some guy trying to grab some chick's pussy on the bus, sexually assaulting her. And, you know, even though people talk so much shit about that, when it happens right in front of you, there's a delay in your reaction of, is this really happening? And you're just kind of like, you can't fucking believe it. But luckily enough, I stopped the next one. And some fucking creepy guy, man. I felt bad. I mean, he was wasted and high. And for some reason, he just thought it was okay to speak to a woman that way. And it was just, I mean, God forbid he was double my, you know, my, I mean, he was in a fucking, almost in a wheelchair. And talking shit like that, Jesus, man. Like, that guy's lucky. Because he did stand up. And he could stand. So it wasn't like he was totally fucking crippled. But if he got any closer to me, he was going to get a fucking headbutt. And I just, you know, what the fuck for? You know, they say, like, the people that fight or know how to fight, the best defense is just to fucking walk away. Why do I want to have my life ruined about having the Metro Police come onto the bus and they got to review video and I have to get my story out and I could be arrested? And then take it into a detention center and then have ICE come in. Oh, is he brown? Fuck yeah, he's brown. And he wears bowling shoes. Oh, that's even worse. This guy's going down. All right. Well, there you go. We did it. 2 beauties. If you're interested, you can buy these on Sweetwater for now $112. They used to be $99. You get my information from the description in this YouTube page. You can get my email and you get my IG. And what you do is you contact me. I give you all the information you need. You go to Sweetwater. You buy these for $112. And then Sweetwater is free shipping to me in Los Angeles. So they ship it to me for free. Now, if you live in, like, say, Germany, you can still buy these for free and send these to me. But then, of course, the shipping is going to be probably close to $100 back to you. But at least you get it shipped for free from the U.S. to me. And then for an extra $100, I can ship it back to you. If you live in the U.S., everything's free then. Because you buy these mics, that's your money. You ship it to me for free through Sweetwater because you have my P.O. box. I, for $250 each mic, will upgrade it, what you just saw. I still have to test these. And then I will ship them back to you for free, insuring the microphone for $112 and insuring $250 for my upgrade. So if this gets lost in the mail or anything happens, you're cool. And then just short of you running these over in your car or you destroying the ribbons, you can always send these back to me, and I'll, like, even if the first day you take this out and you have this plugged accidentally in the phantom power, which could blow the ribbon, just write me and say, hey Manny, I accidentally blew the ribbon. I don't even fucking care. I could just send it back to me. It's $30 to cover the ribbon sheets because this is expensive. And then you pay for the shipping, and I'll always do it. So even if you had my mics for like 2 years, send them in for a tune-up. Have me replace the ribbons in them because then they're fresh again. And there you go. All right, man, I'm signing out. I got to go catch literally a bus or train to pick up my car. I love you all. Thank you guys for tuning in. Cheers, mates.